Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me get Andrea's face off your face. And there's a click there. Okay, so Andrea's having a problem. She has utterly admitted that she's blind. So while we try to get her on, we're going to go ahead and stall. I'm going to play some commercials. When I have her here, we'll play the show. Andrea, if you're watching also somehow, I sent you the link. All you have to do is click on it and follow the instructions and get your butt in here. I don't know what you're doing. This is so simple. What are you doing? I'm cracking up. Anyway, so we're going to play what we can. We're going to come back and talk, and we're going to wait for our guests to pop up. So bear with me, guys, and we'll get somehow. Andrea, by the way, is how she pronounces her name. We'll get on. So stand by. In the meantime, there's a tragedy of errors here because I'm having intermittent internet connection, so I may actually pop off myself. This is going to be fun. Oh my God, I heard a beep. Oh, that's not the right beep. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're going to play some commercials here and hopefully we'll get this woman on.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
We're going to have so much fun with this woman. She's finally got on. I'm trying to alphabetize my insults so we can start off with Andrea. All right, so we're going to go to show opening, everybody. Stand by. Here we go. Hey, good evening, everybody. I am Mark B. Lee, and the show here is called Mark Knows Everybody, and I did not name the show. My friends did. Obviously, they think I know everybody, and I don't know everybody, but they figured that'd be a good tag name for the show. This show is based on my friends, my folks on Facebook, whoever they may be, and I just want to showcase them. That's pretty much the focus of the show, is to showcase them, to tell you a little bit about them, or have them tell us a lot about themselves. And during the past shows, and this is episode number 14, by the way, during the past shows, we usually have 2 or 3 people on, and I do a half hour for one and do a half hour for another. But I have another friend here who deserves, more time than just 30 minutes. And it's just going to be, excuse me, as much time as she possibly can. A lot of you guys know her, and what you don't know is the part that I know, that she is incredibly fantastic. This is a lovely woman, and I told you guys before that I surround myself with quality people. You just can't become friends with me on Facebook just because you've seen me someplace or you've watched this show. I personally have to know you, get to know you, and then interact a little bit, and then I will decide then whether I actually want to have you as a friend. This woman is incredible, but let me tell you a little bit about her, and I want to preface this like I said to her. This is not an interview. This is a discussion between two friends, and basically whatever comes off the top of our heads comes off the top of our heads. We'll have questions. We'll ask questions. You will be allowed to ask questions. If you are in our comment section right now, you can actually type questions. I'm the only one that can see them, and I'm the only one that will decide if they're appropriate enough to be shown on the screen. So don't get stupid on me, because you know how ruthless I can be. And if you are on my friends list, I will dump you. Some of you guys can access this through our YouTube channel, through Facebook, and I may not be able to grab you through YouTube, but believe me, I can hurt you. So you don't hurt her, I don't hurt you. So that's the deal. Let me tell you a little bit about this beautiful blonde. And by the way, Andrea, I see you down there in the chat room. I've been watching you all along, and being blonde doesn't mean anything to me. You're gorgeous, any hair color, but it doesn't rate your intelligence, although I am going to insult you alphabetically for not being here when you're supposed to be here. So I'm sure you got a good excuse. Anyway, Andrea Thompson is a model turned actress turned journalist, known for her every move, from acting on the show NYPD Blue to a new career as a TV news reader. That's actually a past career. This is an old piece of script here. Andrea began her modeling career as a teen and later studied acting at New York's prestigious Actors Studio. She landed a role in the sci-fi series Babylon 5 in the 94-90 season as telepath Talia Winters, and then co-starred on the cop show, my favorite, I still watch it, the cop show NYPD Blue. It comes on like on a channel we have called, I think, Heroes and Icon, and I think I see them like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning on a weekend day, and I'm up watching it, okay? She played Detective Jill Kirkendall there from 96 to 99. There's a lot more in here, but if you didn't know, she joined the cable network CNN as an anchor of its headline news program.
Hey, everybody. Mark seems to have frozen in place. I know many of you who are watching the show right now have wished you could do this for a long time. The internet finally caught up with him. They froze him in place. So I'm just here to sub in a little bit, and we'll wait for Mark to get caught up. As Mark explained to you guys, this is Mark knows everybody, and he's very modest, and he says, no, I don't know everybody. And he probably doesn't know everybody. The guy who watered your lawn last week, he doesn't know that guy probably. He might have had lunch with him. And he'll be right back as he works out. He said he was having some internet glitches, but you know what? We're going to hang out and we're going to see if we get Mark back. But Mark does know some amazing creative talents and amazing people. As he was telling you earlier, Andrea did a regular bout on NYPD Blue for quite a while. For those of you who are sci-fi fans, and if you're friends of Mark, you probably are. You remember her from Babylon 5 as Talia Winters. And she's since become a journalist. She's worked in the CNN anchor's chair for a while, and then over at Court TV. So she's been doing great stuff, and still doing some acting up till about, I guess, around 2016, I think I was reading. So you guys are really going to enjoy this. You know what? While we're waiting for Mark, I tell you what, this is a far better person to hang out with and look at than me. So go ahead, let's bring Andrea up. Hi.
Hello.
I'm not Mark. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? This is really all my fault. I got to tell you, because I arrived late home from work, and I live in Puerto, Mexico, and the entire city is under construction right now because it's really popular with visitors. It's popular with people who work remotely. It's popular with young families with kids who want to have a different rhythm to life, a simpler life. And then, of course, we have a lot of retirees here. So what's happening right now is that all the cobblestone streets, except for downtown in the romantic zone, the old part of the city, are being ripped out, and they're putting in, you know, nice, smooth concrete streets, which my brakes and suspension are really happy about. But I never know where a street is going to be under construction. So I have is going to be here right on the nose at 7 o'clock his time, 6 o'clock my time. And I ran in the door about 9 minutes before this was supposed to start. And then I couldn't figure out the app on my computer. So I'm sitting here in my living room on my phone.
That's, you know what? I sometimes I wish Mark was on his phone doing this, because his phone seems to do better than his computer does some days. Yeah. So, yeah. So, wow. So, anyway, that's just, they're just ripping up all the streets. So you just never know exactly which way to get home. It's a different way every day.
Yeah, it's the city is going through explosive growth. Many parts of Mexico are going through explosive growth right now. I think, you know, COVID showed all of us, or many of us, that you don't have to be stuck in one place in order to get your job done. So I have an Airbnb down here, and I get people who come down and work remotely for 2, 4, 6 weeks. So they can work all day, and then they walk a couple of blocks, and they're down in the romantic zone, and they're walking on the Malecon, and they're having cocktails and going out for a great dinner, and you know, basically working in their shorts and flip flops all day. I mean, it's a lovely life, and Vallarta has become really popular because we have 26 direct flights per day.
Oh wow!
So you can be in Los Angeles in 2 hours and 45 minutes. You can be in San Francisco, in Houston, in Denver, Dallas. It doesn't take that long to get here, and most of the flights are, you know, direct. So it's no big deal. Getting through customs is a piece of cake, and it's really quite simply one of the most friendly, kind places I've ever been in my life. And I've been all over the world, but the people here are very generous. Life is much simpler for me. Now, look, if I lived in Mexico City, I'm sure it's crazy there and loads of traffic, but I don't want to live in any big cities anymore. Yeah. So I live in Vallarta.
That's been, how long have you been there?
4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So now we were looking over things, and I know Mark and you have probably caught up off camera. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's not him. So Mark doesn't know how to do it on his phone, he said.
He was given time.
Okay, that's okay. He's Sage is going to fix him there over at the control booth. So, but okay. So, what have you been up to? So, first of all, COVID. Like you said, so many people learned so many things about what they could do at home and different ways to work, different things to do. What did you do during the extensive COVID months?
Well, what did I do and what I thought I would do? You know, I was going to write the great novel, become completely fluent in Spanish. And, you know, like a lot of people, I sat around, I got fat, and I watched Netflix. Just like same as the rest of us. Yeah. It's just such a weird year. It went slowly and quickly at the same time. You know, once it had started and we went home at the end of March, we all thought it was going to be, I don't know about where you live, but here we thought, oh, we're going to be home for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I figured like, you know, maybe 4 or 6 weeks, and then, you know, we'll be out on the, you know, doing our thing. We had a new show planned for the network here, and I was like, okay, yeah, so about 6 weeks from now, I'll get the location and the permits and everything else taken. I did all of that, and then 6 weeks came, and then 8 weeks came, and then 10 weeks came, and so it was just not going to happen last year. So, but yeah, it was it was an interesting time because, like you, I said I was 8 chapters into about a 12 chapter novel that I was working on. And I thought, hey, guess what? I'm going to be done. I'm going to have all this extra time. I'm still 8.5 chapters into a 12 chapter novel. So it just didn't happen the way we all thought it was going to.
No.
Yeah.
No. It was March, and then suddenly it was Christmas.
Yeah.
And I could not for the life of me remember everything that had gone on during that period of time. But I'm very fortunate because I live in Vallarta and there's so many wonderful things to do around here. So once we got past that initial 2 months of, anxiety attacks at the grocery store, my son and I just started going out in nature. There's so many remote beaches here that we can go and hang out. There's a place called Maito, and there's a little hotel called El Rinconcito, and it's family owned. So mom and dad own the place. The son is the bartender. The daughter does the books. They bring seafood, like a huge fish out of the sea at night, cook it up in front of you, and you've got beans and rice and tortillas and salsa. So we could go to places like that. We didn't have to, hang out with a mask all the time or hang out at home. We went on waterfall hikes. We went, we spent a lot of time in nature, which helped both of us because I don't know about you, but for us and for a lot of other people, it was a really stressful and depressing time.
Yeah, no, if it wasn't for, opportunities to go and walk the green spaces and, just be where you could be not around a bunch of people, but still outdoors and still active. Because other than that, I mean, mental health wise, I think so many people have a hard time, especially if they lived in big cities. It was so hard to get out into spaces where you could, breathe some fresh air and get a little exercise. And, a lot of people, I think, I always tell people, at the tail end of this, as we get over the COVID restrictions, things like that, the next one coming down the pike is going to be a mental health crisis. People who have been trapped in their homes for 18 months.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I still have trouble, because I was in such a great rhythm before COVID. It was like get up at 5:45, have my coffee, work out, meditate, get my son's school day going. Because I've been, I feel everybody's pain. I've been a homeschooler for 4 years now. But it was about getting my kids' day organized, then off to the office. I'm showing real estate all day long. And, then I would get off work at about 6. And my son had wrestling 3 nights a week. And then I had Spanish classes 2 nights a week. And we didn't get home until 11 o'clock at night. And the rhythm down here is so much different. It's like breakfast is at 11, lunch is at 4, and then dinner's at, 10 or 11. And we had such a busy life. And there are days when I get up and I feel just unfocused. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. It's been, so we had gotten a great rhythm here. We had a little home studio we were doing our broadcast from, and then we were doing the convention circuit. So every month there was a convention and sometimes 2 where we were going. And, I had done in 3 years, I had done like 800 interviews, and I just felt like I had this breakneck speed. And then the brakes got hit. I mean, they didn't get pumped; they got hit. And I was like, for a while, I was just like, no, what am I going to do? And so we started doing online stuff. We kind of learned how to do this, which was fun. It was a new skill that I didn't have. And so there were lots of moments when I think I learned something from it. But at first, it was like culture shock because I wasn't around, and I know from the days when you were doing sci-fi and things like that, you get into those venues and it's 200,000 of your closest friends all of a sudden. And I got so used to that tempo for about 3 years. And then all of a sudden I was home. I was like, and I get up in the morning and think, what am I supposed to do today? I don't even know what I'm supposed to do today. And I know I have to put out content. I have to, we took the opportunity to link up with MARC and a bunch of other creators and form a real social media, TV channel. We have, 15 shows now, but at first it was the brakes were all on and I didn't know what to do. And I think for months I just sort of felt wispy. I was like I was blowing in the wind. Didn't really know what to do. And I think I learned something from that too, which is there's nothing wrong with that. We get so focused, I think, in direction that we're going, that we forget that it's okay to let the wind blow us a little bit and enjoy life. and we've learned to do that. So I hope there were lessons learned from a lot of people that were living maybe a little bit of a breakneck pace before, that they can relax a little bit. While it was a horrible circumstance, the idea of having to slow down and start to be people again instead of cogs in the wheel was really, right. I think that was an opportunity for people. I know it was for us. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the very beginning it's hard to see it that way, but as we made our way along, one had to begin seeing it that way, had to begin to see the opportunity in it. Otherwise, it would have been just, like a big black hole. The hardest part for all of us, or for most of us, I'm sure, is the lack of socialization. Because even with Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff, it's not, it's not where it was yet 15 months ago, where you get together for a party and hug all your friends, and we didn't worry about how far we sat from each other.
we just bought a new home, and so the studio and everything is all brand new. I just built this like last week, so and we're having our very first get together in 18 months this Friday. So we'll be seeing people like in person, where it's like, hey, I can shake a hand or give somebody a hug. And I have to tell you, that excites me so much more than it ever would have. A year ago, the idea, okay, we're going to go and we're going to see so-and-so or whatever, little get together. But I think I just appreciate it's a party coming up on Friday. And I'm like, wow, people like sitting in my living room talking to me, and, conversations that I didn't have to script in advance for a broadcast or whatever. So it's just really, really super cool.
Yeah, no, after I got my second Pfizer vaccine, and I got together with some friends for a big lunch, 14 of us. And the sensation of hugging someone again, a friend. I mean, look, I always have my kid to hug on until he gets tired of me because he's 16. But just to go around a table and hug friends and clink glasses and, do all that kind of stuff that we just couldn't by necessity do for a long period of time. I think it's the sense of touch, the idea of hugging someone, the sounds of a social gathering. I don't think I knew how silent the world was until it went silent. And, like clinking of glasses and the sound of silverware, as you share a meal, or the really rude couple three tables back that's yelling at the waiter. I didn't really notice them until they weren't there anymore. And then I'm like, wow, this place is way too quiet. Yeah, I miss that. I miss the chaos of life. A friend of mine who's Dutch told me that there's actually a word, and I don't know what that word is, for skin hunger, to be hungry for touch.
Wow. And there is our host tonight. Mr. Mark B. Lee is in the house. Mark, thank you for introducing Andrea and I.
I told Mark right at the beginning, I told him it's all my fault. This has nothing to do with you.
This is actually, we figured it out, Mark. This is Puerto Vallarta Public Works has dug up an internet line, and it's probably yours.
Andrea, I am so sorry, sweetheart. I am having intermitting internet connection, and I may actually lose you again. So Garrett, you kind of just hang out here. I want everybody to see this beautiful. How are you, sweetheart? Hello.
I'm good, darling. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. Wonderful. I caught part of the discussion on YouTube. I couldn't get on, but let's get past that right now. And I want to see what people are saying. We like the simple life. Terry is in Ireland right now. I don't know what this means. It's still February 2020, right? What's he talking about?
God,
he's lost all track of time, Mark.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Okay, I'm just putting up the comments here. Andrea, once again, I apologize. Things have been absolutely killing me right now with this internet. I don't know what's going on. I have the fastest internet imaginable, and for some bizarre reason, it decided it did not want to cooperate. So, guys, watch this real quick, please.
Can I see you instead of my face? I see my face.
Yeah.
Live from CNN Center in Atlanta, this is Headline News. Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. I'm Stephen Frazier.
And I'm Andrea Thompson. Glad to have you with us. We begin this half hour with more grisly discoveries in North Georgia. Decision to begin the midnight dawn patrols came as a result of two disturbing trends.
So far, in her first 4 months, Thompson has covered everything from wildfires to traffic problems.
City officials say they do have the power to inspect this property and order the owner to clean up his act.
What it is that I want to do and what I get to do is to go and tell stories every day, to talk to people every day, to try to affect social change. That's the beauty of being a member of the press.
A man in Washington state knows how to get ahead in advertising. He's auctioning ad space on eBay on the back of his shaved head. A hot little dish in New York has gotten the attention of the makers of a certain little blue pill. Pfizer is threatening to sue a couple of trendy New York restaurants if they don't stop selling a seafood dish called Viagra Ceviche. The dish
And this is just a little bit of Andrea's talent, her skill, her beauty. I'm still watching NYPD episodes in my brain right now, but to actually see her as a journalist on CNN is amazing. This multi-talented woman actually became a news anchor on Headline News for CNN. How was that experience for you, Andrea?
Well, before I went to CNN, well, actually, while I was still on Blue, I worked with this incredible genius of a man. His name is Jack Hubbard. And he brought to the screen most of CBS News reporters and anchors that you see today. You know, they were his babies, and he was my rabbi, you know, in journalism parlance. And I worked with him, met with him and worked with him for 2 years while I was on NYPD Blue. So he would have me get up at I got up at 3:45 in the morning to rewrite the front cover of the New York Times, but to make it about, a paragraph long, short, concise sentences. And then I would fax that over to him. And so while I was getting out of hair and makeup in my trailer, I had a fax, and he would fax back corrections, and then I would fax back rewrite. So I had journalism school while I was in NYPD Blue. And I actually started out at CBS News in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I worked in Albuquerque as well as the Santa Fe Bureau. And the Santa Fe Bureau was actually like the size of a broom closet in the Capitol building.
Wow.
But I ran all over the state. I had so much fun. There was a different story to cover every single day. And it was so refreshing to me, because as an actor, you kind of live in a gilded cage oftentimes. Yeah, right. And I was out in the streets every day with my microphone in people's faces and asking them how they felt about healthcare in America and education in America and senior issues and just everyday stories, people stories, things that we can relate to. And it was just so fascinating. I would be in the newsroom, and we're having a morning meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's suddenly a plane crash happens, or an avalanche happens, or some kind of natural disaster. And so there was a big circular staircase in the middle of the building that led up to the roof. And there was a helicopter up there, and he was also a reporter, former Vietnam pilot. And he loved to fly with me because he could take the doors off the helicopter. You've got a strap, it's not like you're flying out of the door or anything, but he could take the doors off. And he and I covered wildfires. We covered the trial of Wen Ho Lee. We covered this horrifying story in Truth or Consequences, Mexico. Believe it or not, that's where the game show came from. And it was the toy box killer. And in fact, it was prominently focused on in Esquire magazine. It was this crazy story of a woman running out of a trailer park one day wearing nothing but a dog collar, and that led police back there, and they still to this day don't know how many women were victims of this guy. So it was just every day was a new day. Every day was a new story. And I met so many people, and I felt touched by so many people. I don't know if it's up on YouTube. I think there is. There's a story of a young man who's schizophrenic, and he was adopted by a single mom, of course, when he was just a little guy, and no idea what he was going to go through over the years. And it's just a very touching story, a very moving story for me. I did a story about hotshots. These guys who live outside of wildfires all over the United States for months at a time. And they're filthy. They're covered with soot. They're living in tents, little pup tents. They're eating out of tents. And they drop these guys behind fire lines. And they scope out the best way to fight the fire. And they're some of the bravest people I've ever met. So, you know, I got to start at CBS. And then you know, I went on to CNN, which is just a different kind of thing. I mean, it's stories by committee, which is as it should be, different voices. But it wasn't as collaborative as it was when I was at CBS, and we're in a news truck and we're running and gunning, and we've got to make deadline in a half an hour. And so, you know, my photographer has shot the piece, and I'm putting together, you know, my 3 minutes on air, my narration of the story, and then we have to bang it together at the last minute. So we did 3 stories a day like that. CNN was it was a longer game, although we still had to work within the network parameters of, you know, within 15 minutes, because the feeling was this is all you're going to be able to hold an audience's attention for. But by far the biggest thing for me was 7 weeks after I landed at CNN was when 9/11 happened. And after that, the invasion of Afghanistan. So it was
wow. Yeah, that's fantastic, Garrett. I'm sure you're still here, so hang around. Garrett's a journalist as well as an excellent friend of mine. Thank you, Garrett, for pulling me out of the fire. You probably have to do it again. I don't know what's going on with the internet. It's all through the router, actually. But and I told you, like I said in the beginning, and even offline, Andrea, that we're just gonna talk. I don't think they're actually, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that haven't met you personally and probably haven't heard a lot of your personal stories, but my show kind of centers on you and your everyday life. And of course, we're going to rifle through your career at some point, but I'm sure there's a lot of stories you have to tell. I personally want to hear the story behind this shot right here. What?
Moa. That was my 55th birthday party. And it was at Galveston, okay. Texas. And there were a whole bunch of us there. I'm trying to remember how many people were there. But this was Julie Caitlin Brown's birthday present for me, was to hang out in Moa's room.
Yeah, Julie would spring something like that on you.
You know what? Yeah, Julie would. But you know what? I got to hang out with Momoa before that too. He needs somebody to travel with him to Germany, to I think it was Frankfurt for
FedCon.
The Telemus show. Is it fantasy? So he does a couple of different shows.
Yes, he does. Yes, I used to work that show as well, or the shows he did earlier for like 20 years. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's great. I'm glad you guys got to go, but that was after my time. How well, you know, I got a story that I want to tell you later about a gentleman on the right, and I'm brain farting because I'm stressed out.
Yeah, what a guy he was.
Yeah, and when I had him in Germany one year, he had insisted that, you know, Mark, if I don't answer my phone or whatever, I want you to come up to the room and knock on the door. And I'm sure you understand why. but he was going through some health issues at the time, and he just wanted to make sure that we look out for him, and we did look out for him, and unfortunately, we lost him at some point, not at that show, of course, but later in it. So that was
yeah, it's actually 5 years next Tuesday.
You're kidding.
July 27, yeah.
It's only been 5 years. I don't know why it's been longer, but wow.
Yeah.
That's just.
Well, you know what? When you put that shot up, at first I thought you were talking about, you said the guy on the right. I thought you were talking about Rick Biggs, who was another.
Actually, I am. I was talking about Rick, and you're talking about Jerry.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, Rick, I didn't know he had health problems.
Oh, he had. I want to say, and I could be incorrect on this, and I hope the people watching correct me on this, but he has some sort of congenital heart failure, heart issues, and that's what ultimately took him. Was his heart, right?
Yeah, it was his heart. But I mean, the thing about Biggs was, if people would, the cast and crew going to conventions, roll off the airplane and go straight to the bar, and Biggs went to the gym.
Yeah.
So I had no idea about underlying health issues.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep up, I look on and keep up with his wife and his two beautiful sons on Facebook. I mean, I just love seeing all the love that's there, and what a cool family, and the boys have turned out so amazing. And Lori she doesn't look like she aged at all, so I don't know
really?
what that but it's all good.
I've never personally met her, but would have loved to. I'm kind of rifling around some shots that I picked up on. Of course, I love this shot with the two of you. Last name was Delaney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the best. She's really the best.
And you have some great pictures of you too, and we know of the classic shots of you as Talia, but of course that isn't you in character on the right side there. Where was that one taken?
It was the upfront. It was in Hollywood one year. I know that Rick Schroeder was there at the upfronts. I was going there because CNN had, there was the whole redo when with CNN headline, because that had been a taped show for a long period, for 20 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, it was a tape show for 20 years. So when Taya Ryan relaunched CNN Headline, it was it was a 7-camera show. So it's enough to dodge 2 or 3 cameras, but when you have a 7-camera show, I mean, it was a handful in the beginning. But I met Ted Turner one evening. I was walking around in the Omni Hotel, which you probably know from Atlanta.
Yep, absolutely.
And I was looking in the windows because the studio was under construction. And on the other side of me, there's this big, tall, good-looking guy. And he's looking through the windows, too. And so I walked around the corner, and I said, "You're Ted Turner, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm going to be looking at Headline News." And he goes, I've always been fond of Headline News. And look, I'm standing there talking to an icon as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right.
I was watching CNN in 1991 with the first invasion of Baghdad.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, I was trying not to be nervous. So at the end, he said, we had a conversation for 5 or 10 minutes. And at the end, he said, "But by the way, what's your name?" And I said, "Hi, I'm Andrea Thompson." Went over and shook his hand. I said, "Really nice to meet you, Mr. Turner." He said, "Really nice to meet you, Miss Thompson." So we both go walking off in our other directions. He goes, "Say, you were the naked one, right?" He goes, he gave me a big thumbs up.
I wasn't going to say anything. Why did you drop into that category, Andrea? I swore I wasn't going to talk about anything like that. And there you go, just basically dropping it on me. No pun intended, but
look, I've had a rich life, and I continue to have a rich life, and I never apologized for anything I did as an actor. That was my job.
Yes, and I agree. I mean, you had an infamous, well, not an infamous, it was a well-played scene in NYPD Blue when you were dating the district attorney, and of course NYPD Blue was the first basically network show that literally shown limited pieces of nudity. The last thing I needed to see was basically Sipowicz's ass, and I did see Sipowicz's ass, and it's only thing that
you saw. It was one of the first things you saw, because that was an early episode.
Yeah, that was like, oh great, okay. I'm looking at a fat bald guy's butt on my TV, and I couldn't get across the room fast enough to change the channel because I couldn't find the remote. But nonetheless, I'm glad that doesn't affect you in a way, because I'm sure some interviewers or journalists or whoever out there want to pull out questions that you don't necessarily want to talk about. And we actually didn't do the pre-show because we're struggling with the internet trying to get on. So I didn't have time to prep you on things of that nature. But just nip me in the bud if I go off track on you. You are absolutely stunning woman. I like this shot right here. And obviously, was this the Emmy party?
Emmys, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Emmy. Yeah, fantastic dress. So who made the dress?
Oh my God, that's a long time ago, dude. We're going back years. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
But I was so fortunate. Whenever it was an award show, I had this great guy, this designer, who would come in with a rack full of clothes and say, "This would be great on you. This would be great on you." So, I didn't have to do my own hair. I didn't have to do my own makeup. And I didn't even have to get dressed. There was always somebody there to do it. So that's a charmed life. That's from TV Guide.
Yes, I kind of figured that, even though they cut off the top of it. But yeah, that's a nice shot here. And where is it this one? Is it that one? No, I kind of like that shot too. You're pretty. What is this from?
That's from TV Guide also.
Oh, okay. It has nothing to do with, it wasn't during the NYPD Blue days though, was it?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
We actually had a cover. NYPD Blue had a cover of TV Guide, and then later they asked me back to do it. I don't remember what the title or the intent of the piece was, but it was cool to get to hang out with them and shoot with them through the day. And I love the fact that it was, the backdrop of New York City.
Yes, right.
The show was. Because generally when we were in New York City every year, it was August. So we would do wool suits and wool coats, because this, the main scenery that was done on the streets, but most everything else was shot on the soundstage. So we were in New York, and it was 90 degrees. Rats are jumping around through the trash. The smell is unbelievable. And in between takes, they would bring us big bags of ice, like you get at the liquor store.
Yeah.
So we could hold on to the bag of ice in between takes. But we would shoot in New York for a week, and it was great fun for the cast and crew. And then a bunch of, the B unit would shoot a bunch of B-roll for the show to last us throughout the season. And then everything else took place on the Fox lot.
Right.
Oh, don't freeze on me again. I was having fun. Hi, Garrett.
Just going. You just keep going. Mark will catch up. I know he will. He'll be back on. I was enjoying the images though. Do you have the photo gallery over there, Dina? Can we see the remaining what Mark hadn't gone through yet? I was loving sharing some of these photos. What? Oh, skin hunger, a longing for human contact. Oh, thank you, Sage.
Very cool. Thanks,
That's
Sage.
the word. That's the word that Andrea was talking about before Mark came back. Wow, you have like elephant genes or something. You have a long memory. You just were like, hey, I'm not gonna try. Thank you.
I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't want to make a mistake with it, but
yeah, I would
wonder because it was a friend talking to me about it in the midst of the pandemic, and it was just like Bingo, that's it. Exactly. We're not touching each other.
That's the one. Wow. Oh, okay. We're more pictures. We're doing more pictures.
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, okay,
But
keep going, Dina. What do we got here?
On 62 now, so.
No. Really? No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But you know what? Life remains good, so I got nothing to
Down. Oh boy. Okay, so there's we've just seen these.
B5, yeah.
Roll on down, yeah, the B5 picture. I have a question though. Dina, go ahead. Turn that off. I have a question. What was it like to go, what was that transition to go from acting to journalism? I'm so curious. Just because I came up as a print journalist. So my transition over here to the internet, to the web, to broadcasting was culture shock, because I'd never worked a camera. I'd never had to hold a mic. I just sat at my keyboard and told the story. And so I think about that. You coming from acting, you're used to some of the trappings, but now you're doing everything too. I know my sister-in-law just started an NBC affiliate in Washington, and she went from independent film producer to journalism, and she's just her mind just broke at all the things that she's now doing that there used to be a crew to do.
Well, it's a huge learning curve too. I mean, to go from entertainment and then into journalism, I mean, it's a completely different rhythm. It's put together in a completely different way, especially broadcast. But, you know, for me, it was a natural. I mean, one of my earliest memories, and I think it was about 3 years old, was when JFK got shot. And my mother was pregnant with my brother. And she was sitting on a little step stool in front of the old gigantic, you know, black and white TVs with like the cloth panels, and it was sitting there and watching Walter Cronkite and that iconic piece of news where he takes his glasses off.
It was physically, he was visibly emotive, which was antithetical to every story he had told up to that point. He was always very straight. Yeah. And I mean, Walter Cronkite is like, when I was going to journalism school, like that's like an industry standard. It's the Joe Friday School of News, just the facts, ma'am.
Yep.
And it was great, but that was one of those stories that was so emotive for the whole country that you know, I think that's an iconic pose when he takes his glasses off and you can see him physically emote. Yeah. And thanks you, Oxheim. Babylon 5, one of the greatest science fiction shows ever. Wonderful.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
You're back, man.
Hey, I got to get this fixed before my 2 shows on Friday and Saturday, so that's going to be.
Yeah, you've got classic television SmackDown Friday and Saturday morning cartoons. So
yeah, Andrea, let me ask you. I'm looking at this beautiful house you're sitting in, and I you know I'm an architect, so I can kind of tell by the walls that is quality Mexican expertise. Is that correct?
Well, what it is, I lived downtown for 3 years, and downtown is super cool. I mean, if you've ever been in downtown Vallarta, the romantic zone, and you walk around, it's these gorgeous old cobblestone streets. But the city is going through a big transformation, and there's a lot of new construction, and they're gorgeous condominium buildings. I mean, I love them. I love to show them to people. I love to sell them. But the city, the face of the city is changing. The first time I was here was I was 23 years old, so 37 years ago. Yeah. And it was, just a couple of streets. Now it's changed so very much that after a period of time, I get a little tired of being downtown because there was the noise of construction and the dust flying everywhere. And then, there's the general party scene, which I love about Vallarta. There's so much going on in terms of art, and music, and theater here that there's always something to do. But I needed to, since I work downtown and since I play downtown, I needed to be in a place that's a little more tranquil. So the neighborhood we live in is called Palmar de Aramara, and it's an old-fashioned traditional Mexican neighborhood where I've got the Mercado Municipal, where I go for my fruits and vegetables and all my food. I can walk out with 2 huge bags of groceries for like $30. Oh. Yeah, I know, right? Kills you.
Oh yeah,
It's an
yeah.
amazing coffee shop like 2 blocks down, and they roast their own coffee next door, because coffee culture is huge here. And
Yeah.
some of the best pizza I've ever had in my life is in Mexico. Because
You're making me jealous.
we associate with Mexico, but that and amazing dark chocolate.
Yeah, I don't know if Garrett touched on this at all, but why did you flee LA? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I would, but I was wondering, why did you flee LA into Mexico?
I left LA for a lot of reasons. I've been there for 30 years. That's a long time in one place for me, considering that I didn't grow up in one place. My family moved around a lot. I think I went to 13 different schools in 12 years.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It was just, one, I wasn't an actor anymore. I'd been selling real estate for a long period of time and did well for myself there, but it was just the grind of being in the traffic every day. I mean, I lived 12 miles away from my kid's school, and it took an hour to an hour and a half to get him there every day.
That's ridiculous.
So, and that to get him home too. So, 3 hours in the car a day for, a 10-year-old boy is not the way to do it. Sorry, some Twitter stuff just came across my screen.
Oh, that's okay. We can't see it here.
Yeah, and then it wasn't just fleeing LA. As much as I love my country, I fled the U.S. as well. The political divisiveness, and you and I have talked about this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, I totally get it.
There's no stability anymore. We, the people, aren't being looked out for. It's all about winning elections and that, and then the other big two for me were racism.
Yeah.
Can't tolerate that shit anymore.
Right.
And guns. I just can't. People talk to me, oh, Mexico's so dangerous. How do you feel down there? Okay, you know what? The crime down here has to do with cartels, and it has to do with drugs, and it has to do with drugs that are going to the United States, and then guns that come back down here. Mexico's not an inherently dangerous place. There's only one gun store in the entire country, and it's in Mexico City. So it's not a part of the culture here to have a bunch of firearms at home. I feel very secure. I walk around late at night. I've never felt unsafe at any time. And I mean, I've walked through downtown at 2 o'clock in the morning. As I said early on, people are kind and generous and friendly and will help you. Anytime somebody sees you in trouble or sees you having a hard time. The other thing I love about living in Mexico is if you do something goofy, Mexicans will laugh right at you. It's like laughing with you. It's like the absurdity of life.
Wow. Yeah.
Stuff super seriously here.
Yeah.
So I needed, my soul needed that. My heart needed that. It was just too much of a grind in LA. And even now I do keep up with current events. You and I have discussed.
Yeah.
Politically, I always know what's going on. In terms of events, I always know what's going on. But at this point in time, I can only do about a half hour of United States news a day because it grinds me down. I got to turn it off and put on some great jazz or some Latin music and elevate myself again.
Yeah, let me pull Garrett up I have a question actually directed to both you guys. Garrett, you did your show with Patricia yet?
Yeah, I've done actually a couple. Yeah.
Okay. Patricia Tallman, we're talking about.
Yeah, we've done a couple. She actually came on during our Central Florida Comic-Con live broadcast and just hung out for about a half hour with us. So.
Oh, awesome. Have you been now? You tell me, Garrett. Patricia is really much into spiritualism and things of that nature or whatever. Andrea, did you know of this? Were you aware of her spiritualism and that nature and what she kind of promoted, or was she still promoting?
Well, I just did. I did one of her shows a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And she likes to focus on journeys.
Mm-hmm.
and my journey was, was leaving the country and becoming an expat. And, she's one of my favorite people in the world. We didn't work together on B5. I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
I worked with Claudia, and I didn't work with Mira that much. But I mean, these were my girls. We didn't often get to hang out, but, the four of us having coffee or sushi or drinks, was something I really treasured. And to watch all of my friends grow and change over the years. I mean, Mira became a teacher. Look what Claudia's done with C3.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's just so multifaceted. She's a writer. She's a singer. She's, they've made their own way. And Pat, with her adventure travels and her geek adventures and all the cool stuff she does. And, and now she's found this really cool guy who appreciates her for the woman she is.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm sure he can put up with her craziness too, because you know how crazy Claudia is.
He got engaged. Did you see that?
That's great. But second to you, dear, was Mira. Mira and I adored each other. And it's so funny how when we first met, she was
and we're not going to get that story.
No, this is
right at the cusp of a story too.
I know
that, guys, that story could have gone anywhere because we're not going to know until he comes back. When he comes back, Mark, if you can hear us, please come back. We want to hear the rest of that story. We were lucky enough to have Pat on during Central Florida Comic Con. She came on and talked about the Magical Living program and the things she was doing with that. And I had seen you on one of the broadcasts that earlier, weeks and weeks before that. So, and she's having Claudia on, I guess, to do one coming up in the next couple weeks. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they're gonna do it. I told her what I loved about the Magical Living was it was literally just a great time to come in and hang out with her, hanging out with her friends, and because so much of that dialogue between y'all when you get together is just natural catching up dialogue. It's a true peek behind the curtain that I think people, it's what people wish their experience was like when they meet you at a con, but there's just no time for that kind of thing. It's, do your panel and get out.
Generally that takes place in the bar afterwards, but there's never really enough time at a con. There really isn't. You work all day long, you eat something, hang out and try to talk to as many people as you can. And then, the whole thing starts over again the next day.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I loved what she was building there. It was just kind of a nice place to chill and hang out. And even though it's online, it's the experience that you kind of were hoping for at the live convention instead, though, but you get to talk and see people talk on a very personal level and not, from behind a dais or, again, like you said, sometimes in the bar afterwards, but then, that's short lived because you got to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and do it again.
No, hungover in a hotel room in Atlanta is not fun.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is there going to be a Comic-Con this year?
What's that?
Is there going to be a Comic-Con this year in Atlanta?
Yes, Dragon Con is set to go in the first weekend.
I haven't been there in forever.
Yep. Dragon Con is Atlanta, and that is the first weekend of September. It is Labor Day weekend. And then I know San Diego, the big one, they pushed their dates. So they're kind of doing like a mini, as mini as San Diego Comic-Con gets, a mini version around Thanksgiving weekend. And so, but then they're going to push till next year. They're going to actually do the full, San Diego show. So
now, how big
question
is
from Mark? Okay, question from Mark. We'll take questions from Mark.
Okay.
Mark wanted to know, he said, technically, he did promise you the show was supposed to end here in about 2 minutes, but he wanted to know if you wanted to wait until he comes back on or if you have to scoot.
Oh, no, I want to wait until he comes back on because I got
she's going to wait until he comes back on. We're visiting here. What? Mark, we're visiting. What are you doing? So, okay, so you had said something earlier about real estate, and I remembered. So, have you transitioned now into a new career? You're into real estate now?
I have been for 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
At the age of 45, I got a big surprise, and that was it wasn't planned. It was the surprise that I was pregnant, which was, I went to the doctor and said I've got terrible heartburn, just not feeling good. And so, he had me do a test, and I said, yeah, you're joking. I'm 45 years old. I can't possibly be pregnant. And I was. And so my oldest son, Alec, was raised by a couple of shifts of nannies with a driver, and I wanted to do it differently this time around. And for me, real estate was a really natural transition. I mean, Jerry and I used to love to go out to brunch on Sundays, and then we'd go through open houses all afternoon, just to kind of see where everybody lived and what the architecture was like. So yeah, I've always loved real estate.
No, that's awesome though, and it's a great moment in transition. We have our midlife baby here. Our youngest, Michael, came to us in our late 40s, and so it's a big one,
isn't it? It's a life changer.
Yeah, I had already raised.
But you know what? I love the way you, Garrett, interact with your children. Andrea, I love hearing and watching and seeing anything with you and your son involved. And with me, I have no children, and at this point, I won't have any children. But that is one of the regrets that I have.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, yeah. Mark, yeah, and I know y'all out there watching know that Mark loves kids, and he that's the one regret that he has, is that he doesn't have any of his very own. I will rent you cosplay Michael any day of the week. He's way more energy than I'm far more patient than I was with my older children. My older children are all grown now and doing a wonderful thing, and it's great. And of course, there were 4 of my boys at one time. So when they were kids, so it was 4 of everything at the store and 4 tickets to every place you want to go. And it was, so this one is really neat because it's just the one, and I'm older and more patient. And, when I was in my 20s and my oldest boys were around, it was just like, shut up already. I'm ready to kill you. And now I'm just more mellow. My older boys come over here and they look at Michael and they look at him and they go, dude, you don't even know what bad dad was about. I mean, you think that dad's mad now. This is crazy tame.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, when you have kids like that, it's really hard. How old is your youngest?
My youngest is 10 now. He just turned 10. And he's a lot of fun. I love it. It's like doing it all over again, only all the things that I wish I had been patient enough to do before, or things my older boys and I talk about now. And I'm like, I probably could have gone easier on you like that, on this. And I get a chance to do that. It's like a do-over for parenting. And his siblings are rotten. They spoil him absolutely crazy because they're all adults now. So every time they show up at the house, they show up with a gift. Here, Michael. And Mark does too. Mark, we take him out to lunch, and then Mark will show up and say, "Here, Michael, have this." And I'm like, "Oh."
Hold on, guys. I want to get through this before. I'm watching my router sitting over there, and every time I see that red light pop on, that means I'm going to lose connection. So it's all green now. So bear with me, Andrea. I'm so sorry about this. What's that, dear?
We want to hear the mirror story.
Yes, the mirror story. No, you're kidding. That's not even right. The internet gods are out to get us. That is not even fair. We just asked for the mirror story. Mark, when you come back, we want to hear the mirror story. So please just jump in and start telling the story. When you come back, just jump in and start telling the story. We'll shut up, I promise.
Exactly. Right away.
Now yours is 16 now, you said.
Yeah, he turned 16 last week on the 14th.
Wow. Well, happy birthday to him. Wonderful. 16 is fun.
He was a little guy for so long, and now he's a really big guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
They just keep that. I actually loved when the boys hit their teen years. It was when I kind of felt like we were connecting because I understood them, and I knew they understood me because they were old enough to understand when, you know, a reference or a joke or
Real quick.
Tell the mirror story.
The mirror story.
Mirror story.
So Andrea, when I brought Mira to Germany, that was the first time I met her. I think Babylon was still in the air. Anyway, she had asked me, she pulled me over to the side. She says, are the German people going to get a little pissed off if I told him where my husband was from? Okay, so Mira was her husband was Croat. Okay, and Mira was, what was the other country?
Mira's Croatian and
other way around.
Serbian.
Yes, and the husband was Serbian and whatever. And I said, Mira, these are some of the most wonderful people that I've ever, performed in front of. They're fantastic. They're going to love you to death. And lo and behold, I think she made so much money that weekend it wasn't funny. And I said, see, they love you. You know, they gave you cash. But I thought it was interesting that she was worried so much about the clashes between the two countries, and you have two of those individuals from both countries, or from either or, and she was wondering what other people thought. And I said, oh, you're so, she's always been so sweet and gentle. I was absolutely shocked when we lost her, much like Andreas and much like Biggs and of course Jerry. And I'm like, what is going on? So
we all have a finite time, and we never know what it is. My mother was a nurse, and she said, "From the time you're born, you're on your way to your death." And
wow.
It sounds like really dark to me,
but it's true. It's true.
None of us are guaranteed any amount of time, and when to lose someone we love is so shocking. But I'm figuring, I'm like in the last sprint. Well, not the last sprint, but probably into 40 now, at almost 62, and and it just makes you think. It makes you think about the time you have left and how much time you've got to spend with people you love. And so that's why it's so enjoyable. I think I'm really enjoying life over 60, although I've lost a lot of people I'd still like to be enjoying it with. But happy to still be here, happy to still be present.
Yeah, and we are as well. I'm so happy that you and I connected and got to at least talk a little bit. I'm happy that you're into real estate, and I'm in the construction industry as well. You've given us a lot, Andrea, as all of the characters that you portrayed as the newswoman, and we really, really appreciate you. I'm happy that you agreed to at least come on and be on the show, and you and I are going to have a lot of future discussions. We're always online together, and at some point I'm going to investigate where you live, because I like to know. You know what I'm doing right now, Andrea?
What?
I'm in Florida, right? I'm not far from Daytona. I'm inspecting condo buildings now.
Oh my gosh, Surfside. My phone
is ringing off the hook, and I have to report to the board of every condo association and give them my assessments. But on a couple inspections, I've had condo owners come up to me and ask me questions that I really can't answer, because I'm doing an inspection, I'm doing an assessment. I can't spread fear if there was in fact a reason to worry. And it is stressful on me right now. And it's like, the phone's calling and you want to say no, because, I don't want to get involved in that level of liability, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, of course not. I mean, just an absolutely heartbreaking story, but there were so many red flags along the way with that. And, you and I are in complementary fields between real estate and construction.
Mhm.
And, you know, in low-lying places like Miami, we're only going to see more of that because of water
I know.
intrusion and, you know, and rising tides. And you know, it's a big infrastructure issue. It's a compliance issue. Because
Yep.
a lot of you get into a big condo building, nobody wants the HOA to rise. You know, everybody wants everything to be done, but nobody wants to pay more for it. And to go back and hear that story, and to hear that, you know, it was only a few short years ago, they could have spent $9 million to have the building repaired, and then the recent assessment was $15 million. And so for somebody who had a one-bedroom apartment, it was going to raise their HOA dues by $569 a month. I mean, if you were the penthouse, it was going to be more. So it was like an assessment of $80,000 on a one-bedroom amongst a bunch of people, many of whom were retirees.
Yes.
So there's a huge story in that, and the journalists who've covered that story have done a really remarkable job. That one's a heartbreaker.
You know, my office is studying the report coming out of Miami right now because we really need something to work off of. But some of the photos that we've seen so far, it was just a total issue of maintenance. If they just kept up the maintenance over the years, a lot of that could have been avoidable. And I'm getting a lot of these homeowners saying, well, we won't be able to sell these units if there's something wrong with the building. This is my livelihood. I have nowhere to go. I'm going to lose this, you know, and I'm, you know, kind of like, yeah, well, you know, I haven't looked at your building thoroughly yet, but I'm sure your board will keep you up to date on what's going on. And I'm telling these guys now, it's like, guys, you have got to stay on top of this because I know it's dollars and cents to you, but it's lives to me, you know?
Well, we saw that, you know, graphically.
Absolutely.
When the building came down and then they had to take down the rest of it. I mean, the whole thing was just a nonstop nightmare for about 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Or do either of you guys know how many buildings they've vacated now? And
well, one of the property managers that I'm looking at his buildings right now, and he has a place actually in the building right next door to the one that came down. I'm like, what?
The new build, the one that they thought was part of it?
Yes, and I said, you got to be kidding me. You live there? He said, yeah, I wanted to send you down there, and I said, no, you won't. I said, oh no, you won't.
No, but they are. I know they're looking at. Obviously, they're looking at buildings nearby, but literally, this has been a call to arms all over the state.
Yep.
All over the state. Mark, I know you've been to Daytona. I mean, it's all up and down the coast now.
Yeah.
We're looking at. They're looking at buildings that were built around the same era. You know, and not for nothing. There's good and bad in everything, but for every great real estate agent or great person that's in this industry that had a passion for going to open houses. That was an era in time when there were some less than scrupulous real estate developers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, just saying.
So year two.
Yeah, and I mean, it was an era.
Absolutely.
It was an era when it was make as much as possible as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And the rules, they got a little edgy at times. And so I think the longer this story plays out, and the more times people like Mark are being called out to do these inspections. A lot of these buildings are finding out that either the maintenance wasn't done, they just wouldn't spend the money on the facilities, or they started out by cutting corners in the very beginning.
Hey, real quick, I don't think we can get any questioning right now. And if anybody who is in our chat room want to put anything up, you know, you better move your fingers real quick because I don't want to hold this lady much any longer. But while you're doing that, if you're in fact doing that at all, I want to ask Andrea, which one of the shows that you've played on in your past, and you were also on Falcon's Crest too. A lot of people don't realize that you had a Falcon Crest role. Yeah, which one of these series programs that you have been on was your favorite?
Oh man, that's a really hard one, Mark. It really is, because you know, every show had something to it. I mean, Falcon Crest, I worked with Rod Taylor.
Rod Taylor, oh my God, classic Rod Taylor, yeah.
I met, I worked with some fabulous actors. That's when I first got to meet Mariska Hargitay. She had left to another show.
I had the hots for her mom, boy. I had the hots for her mom.
She's still hot. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
her mom's not still hot, but
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, photograph she is. But I mean, Mariska is and lovely, just like one of the most lovely human beings. I don't know, NYPD Blue, Jag 24. I've just, I've been really, really fortunate. I've been really fortunate. I can't think of anything bad now. I'm sure I did at one point along the way. I'm sure I was bitching and moaning about something.
I think this is you. Is this you in 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 24. That's your role on 24 right here. Please tell me your favorite time was Lilith on Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Oh, come on. Tell us. You had a ball on that one, didn't you? It was Emmy material.
My husband got me the job.
Okay. But you had no idea, no chance of turning it down. You just said, okay, I want. It wasn't a paycheck issue, was it, Andrea? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But that was the fastest I've ever seen anybody just do this whole bus, husband, meet each other. Go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's a shame. I mean, that's a shame. I don't have your IMBD up right now, and I don't need to go through it because there are.
Don't freeze on it.
Yeah, I kind of you remember you started this. I tried not to peek, Andrea, but what was that movie called, Andrea? It was the one.
Which one?
Wasn't it the one Ted Turner was talking about?
A blonde?
Say that again.
A gun, a car, a blonde.
Yeah, I think it had. Didn't it have
Wall Street? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but he
I don't know.
He has offended the internet gods. So again. Okay, well. Thanks for that, Mark. Just throw me right into the middle of that one. So I would imagine picking a favorite role is hard, especially in retrospect, because not only have you had all these fantastic experiences on set and done these great parts, but you've had a chance to interact with fans from all different genres, because you've had a career that spanned not just one or two different genres. I mean, Falcon Crest and evening soaps and NYPD Blue is a crime drama. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole gamut of television acting. You've done it, and you've met those people that are fans. So that's got to be incredible.
Especially the Babylon 5 fans. I mean, some of them were kids when we started doing the show. They grew up and had kids, and now they're turning their grandkids onto it. So that's been really every chance I get, I'm like, check that. I have that's our an annual thing with us is I have it on Apple TV and we'll just binge. Mm-hmm. Like one weekend will be, this is B5 weekend, leave us alone. And it's introduced to grandkids now to it, which is really, digital media is interesting in that way. Kids now, I mean, my kids didn't know the stuff that I grew up on for the most part, because they weren't interested in going and renting a DVD or whatever. But through streaming and digital media, they've watched stuff that I liked as a kid, and now their kids are watching it, which is really super cool. Yeah. So what do you watch when you have a chance? I know that you have a busy life, but what do you watch when you have a chance? What's your favorite go-to show right now? The one I'm watching right now is in Spanish, La Cocinera de Castamar, or the Cook of Castamar, and they do have it in English, and it takes place in Spain, and it's it's kind of like oh God, I'm having a brain fart. That period drama what is it called? Everybody was into it for a long time. It's recent. It takes place at a castle in England.
Downton Abbey.
Yeah, this is kind of the Downton Abbey of Spain. And then before that, it was the Kaminsky Method, which I loved, with Michael Douglas.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, that's been so much fun.
Fabulous. And then I finished a show called Sex Life, which was a really, really interesting drama of growing up and how we change throughout life, you know, going from being young in New York City and then getting married and having kids, and but a really well done show. I need to go back and watch the latest episode of Handmaid's Tale for sure.
Oh my God, they have literally done such a great job with that adaptation.
I know. I read the Margaret Atwood book like eons ago, and to have taken what started as an amazing premise and turned it into this, the show is phenomenal.
They've just added so much texture to the story right now because, you know, they did a movie adaptation years ago and it was well done, but you know, the constraints of trying to fit a novel into a movie are always difficult because of the time constraints and things. But when they were able to take this and do a long format story over, you know, seasons, they were actually able to, instead of feeling like they took something away from Atwood's novel, you actually feel like they added texture to it, which was fantastic. Yeah. And he's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Like they added texture.
Before you go.
Yeah. Hey, you better wrap this show, Mark.
I'm rapping,
here, brother.
I'm rapping. I've been trying to rap, but don't ask me any more stories, damn it, because
Oh, it's our fault. I got it. There, that's what you get. That's what you get. You blamed us, and the internet knew better. So, guys, you know what? I know Mark will be back up in the studio in a minute because I know he wants to say goodbye to Andrea, but we're going to say goodbye to all of you out there on Facebook land. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you, Andrea, for being here with us and for hanging out with our Facebook friends and fans. Go ahead and show me that chat again real quick so we can just make sure we let everybody know we're thinking of them. Thanks, Mark. Yes, we know, Mark. Cheryl, thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you to Terry. Thank you to Matt MacGyver. Thank you to the whole MacGyver clan in Ireland for being here. Thank you to everybody in the chat room, guys. We're going to wrap the show. Mark is here. So, guys, just keep logging into HWWS Web TV and see more. Mark, you can see this Friday on Classic Television SmackDown and then Saturday morning on Saturday Morning Cartoons. Check out all the shows here on HWWS Web TV. I'm GW Pomager. We've been hanging out with Andrea Thompson. Thank you so much for being with us, guys. Now,
Andrea,
Dina,
bye, sweetheart. Andrea, I will talk to you offline at some point.
Dina, go ahead and let's wrap the show, guys. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you guys. Yeah.
Guys, we're still live. Hi, everybody.
What the hell?